What do you think of when you think about survival skills? You know, if you're like most people, you probably think about physical skills, things like building fires and building shelters, getting water and all this kind of stuff. So what I want to share in today's video is there is another skill that is every bit as important as the physical skills like fire and shelter, but gets way less attention. And that is your own awareness. It's your own ability to be aware of what's happening in your surroundings, to look at what's happening around you, to hear things happening in the distance, and to understand what it's telling you about the forest. And I want to give you an example of what this actually looks like. You know, imagine that I picked you up and dropped you off in the middle of grizzly bear country. And grizzly bears are, you know, one of the most aggressive and dangerous animals in North America. Most animals that you encounter in North America are really not going to do anything to you. They're, you know, they're probably going to be a lot more scared of you than you are of them. But grizzly bears, if you get close to a grizzly bear, they can get pretty mad, and so they really are, if you are in grizzly country, you need to have some way of dealing with this constant threat of grizzly bears. And so we can take sort of two different approaches. There's like the physical skill approach would be to craft a spear. You know, if you were in a survival situation in grizzly country and you wanted to have some way of protecting yourself from grizzlies, you could make a spear. And that would be one way of protecting yourself. Now, would you rather have a spear, or would you rather have advanced awareness to know where that grizzly bear is so you can avoid it before it becomes a problem? That's what awareness lets you do. It's the ability to look at your surroundings and to recognize where the bear trails are, how fresh the sign actually is, so that you can look at like some sign of a grizzly bear and say, oh, there's a grizzly bear like within a day of where I am right now, or there's actually a grizzly bear within an hour of where I am right now. And then using your listening skills to actually hear the bird alarms off in the distance and hear what the birds are saying that tells you where is the grizzly bear right now, which direction is it going, how fast is it moving, is it aware of your presence or is it not aware of your presence? And even down to things like having awareness of bear behavior, to know where they like to go on the land, what time of day they spend in different locations, and all of this is different types of awareness that plays into your ability to actually just avoid a conflict with a grizzly bear right off the bat. And so, would you rather have a spear to protect yourself from a grizzly bear, or would you rather just avoid that whole situation altogether? And that's what awareness lets us do. Now, the thing that I find really interesting about this is if you look at, say, hunter-gatherers as like the ultimate survivalists, that you know, if we take all the people on the planet and look at who's really the best at survival, it would be the hunter-gatherers. You know, they get all their food and shelter and water, everything from the land every day. And if you look at how much time they spend on physical skills like fire, shelter, and water, even getting food, compared to modern people, you know, people who are really interested in survival and want to practice all the skills and learn to get fire, which I'm not knocking any of those skills. Like, they're great skills to have. And if you are going into a wilderness situation where you could potentially have a survival situation come up, it's a really good idea to know how to make fire and how to get, you know, a little bit of food, but especially water and shelter, you know, in the case that you end up needing those things. I just find it so interesting that if we look at hunter-gatherers, how much time do they actually spend on those things? It's really not that much. If you've ever seen, you know, documentaries showing how hunter-gatherers get fire, it's like 5 minutes and they're done. They've got it, you know, they're moving on. While people in like sort of the modern survival practice, they'll spend hours working on fire, and they'll spend very little time actually cultivating their awareness. If you look at hunter-gatherers, what do they actually spend their time on? It's the reverse. They spend most of their time really working on awareness, tracking, looking at the land and reading the stories of the land, listening to birds and figuring out what the birds are telling them, and just reading everything that's happening around them in the environment. And that's really where they spend a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. And so modern survivalists spend a lot of time on physical skills, very little time on awareness skills. Hunter-gatherers spend very little time on the physical skills, and they spend a lot of time on awareness skills. Now, the thing that's actually really kind of interesting about this and relevant to our modern lives is that in the modern world, if you're watching this on a computer, you're probably not actually living in a situation where you need to make fires and acquire food from the land and get your water from the land and build shelters. However, awareness is still very relevant in the modern world. This is why so many people are interested in things like mindfulness, is because they understand that having a clear mind, having the ability to focus and just be super present in the moment, that actually does relate to our ability to be successful in the modern world. So the way that I like to think about it is that awareness is a survival instinct that gets triggered by events that happen in nature. But awareness is not just about survival, it's also about having a life worth living. Most people get by without the ability to quiet their mind and focus in and get really clear. But there's something lost when we move through the world with dull senses, when you don't have the ability to switch on your awareness to really just the fullest capacity that you're able to. And so to give you a sense of what this actually feels like, you can kind of imagine, what actually happens to your senses when you get a little bit scared. If you imagine being out in the forest and maybe at nighttime you're out camping and you're trying to sleep and you start to hear some sort of noise out in the forest, and that idea of like what could possibly be there, and that there's some sort of animal out in the forest, and what happens to your senses when that happens? You start to really listen. Your mind gets very quiet, and you're listening probably at a deeper level than you've ever done before. And that sort of thing, it kind of gets you onto this alertness, and being in a place where there's just a really strong need to pay attention. It's just one of those things about living in this comfortable modern experience that we really don't have as many incentives in the modern world. There aren't grizzly bears hiding around every hill, and there aren't lions in the bushes that are going to be a real danger for us, and dangerous snakes that we have to be aware of. And so it's not we have to find some way of incentivizing ourselves to actually pay attention at that level and get those get that survival awareness to actually open up. So there's a quick little exercise that you can practice to actually help you access this survival awareness, even if you're not putting yourself in dangerous situations. Really, it's the perception of danger that gets your senses to open up. It's not actually having a lion on the other side of the bushes or a grizzly bear hiding in the forest that makes your senses open up. It's when you perceive that there's something really, really important that you have to pay attention to and get advanced awareness of. And so one of the things that I like to do is go outside and find a place to sit down, close your eyes, and just sort of relax for a moment. And then imagine that you are like a very vulnerable prey animal. Imagine yourself as something like a sparrow or a mouse, being out in that environment, and get into that mindset of an animal that is constantly surrounded by things that want to kill you. like hawks and owls and cats. And imagine what must it be like to be a prey animal on the landscape? How much incentive do they actually have to pay attention and to listen? And imagine that at any moment a hawk could pounce down and take your life. And these are such vulnerable animals, that they have very big families and very short lives. And you start to get a sense of what do you actually have to do to pay attention at that deepest level. And this is what our human senses are really designed for. It's what we're capable of doing, and this will get you to a state of mindfulness really fast. And of all the things, I've tried a lot of meditation techniques in my days. Of everything that I've tried to do to get my mind to quiet down, get myself to a deep state of mindfulness, this putting myself in a situation where I'm sort of a little bit on edge, there's like a perceived sense of danger or some fear in a controlled environment. You don't actually have to expose yourself to real dangers in order to get this. But the more that you can get in touch with what that feels like and use that survival instinct to drive your senses outwards, to listen further than you've ever listened before, potentially even further than you even realized was possible. That is really the key to getting to a deep state of mindfulness that you can, with practice, you can learn to switch it on at any time that you want, even when you're not experiencing a perceived danger. And so you can learn to carry this mindfulness into all the things that you do in your life, into your relationships, into your career. And that just makes such a big difference. As people living in the modern world, we have to come to some sort of resolution around the fact that we've created a life that is so comfortable and so easy for us to just not have to push ourselves to reach our full potential. And we have to find some way of getting in touch with that primal awareness instinct, that need to open up and listen and watch and really study and observe and get that deeper perspective. That if we really want to reach the full potential of our human nervous system to be aware and mindful and fully engaged with life, we have to find some way of opening our senses at that survival level. So getting outside and empathizing with the animals and just imagining yourself as that really vulnerable animal and using that to drive your senses outward is just such an excellent practice. This survival awareness is really the original survival skill, even before we had any kind of technology like fires and any sort of fancy shelters even. We always had this survival awareness built into our nervous system. It's the simple ability to pay attention, to be completely present in the moment, to focus your mind like a razor, and also simultaneously open up into this expanded state of sensory awareness, and using that to know where the dangers are before they come close enough to actually affect you, so you can avoid things and really just have the best possible chance of survival. So I hope you found this video interesting, and I really encourage you to get out and practice that little imagination exercise with a sensory meditation, and just notice how that carries you to a deeper state of awareness, and then practice bringing that into your everyday life. Bring that into your experience of life. Notice how cultivating awareness really brings a lot of value into our everyday life. Let me know what questions you have on this, and I will see you in the next video.